This article is about the main speaker in the biblical Book of Ezekiel. For a summary and analysis of the book itself, see Book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel, meaning may God strengthen him. Arabic also Zul-Kifl, o degree uomi florin uu, and o squared us hoom Hazqiyal, in Arabic meaning God will strengthen, is the central protagonist of the Book of Ezekiel in the Hebrew Bible. In Judaism, Christianity, Islam and the Bahá'í faith, Ezekiel is acknowledged as a Hebrew prophet. In Judaism and Christianity, he is also viewed as the author of the Book of Ezekiel that reveals prophecies regarding the destruction of Jerusalem, the restoration to the land of Israel and the millennial temple visions, or the Third Temple. Ezekiel's life. The author of the Book of Ezekiel presents himself as Ezekiel, the son of Buzi, Ezekiel 1:3, born into a priesthood lineage of the patrilineal line of Ithamar, and resident of Anathoth. The author dates ages, prophecies and visions by making references to the lengths of time King Jehoiachin of Judah was in exile. Under the direction of Nebuchadnezzar II, Babylonian armies exiled 3,000 Jews from Judah, deposing King Jehoiachin in 597 BC. The author describes himself as in his 30th year. During the 5th year of King Jehoiachin, a unregistered trademark's exile, Ezekiel 1:1-2, thus one can calculate his approximate year of birth as 622 BC. Living in Babylon, Ezekiel, at the age of 25, was amongst 3,000 upper-class Jews who were exiled to Babylon. On the bank of the Chbar River, in Tel Aviv, Ezekiel and his wife dwelled in their own home where exiled Jewish visitors came to seek his prophetic insights. Ezekiel 1:1-3-15. There is no mention of him having any offspring, only that his wife died rather young, in the 9th year of exile, when Ezekiel was 34 years of age. Ezekiel 24:1-18, prophetic career. In July 592 BC, at the age of 30, Ezekiel describes his calling to be a prophet, by going into great detail about his encounter with God and 4 living creatures or cherubim with 4 wheels that stayed beside the creatures. Ezekiel 1. For the next 5 years he incessantly prophesied and acted out the destruction of Jerusalem and its temple, which was met with some opposition. However, Ezekiel and his contemporaries like Jeremiah, another prophet who was living in Jerusalem at that time, witnessed the fulfillment of their prophecies when Jerusalem was finally sacked by the Babylonians. The date of the sacking, 587 BC, is confirmed by Babylonian cuneiform records discovered by archaeologists. Ezekiel was 50 years old when he began to have visions of a new temple. He served as a prophet for at least 22 years until, according to, Ezekiel last experienced an encounter with God in April 570 BC. Ezekiel 29:17, his time of death has not been recorded. Worldviews, Jewish tradition. Ezekiel, like Jeremiah, is said by Talmud and Midrash to have been a descendant of Joshua by his marriage with the proselyte Rahab. Some statements found in rabbinic literature posits that Ezekiel was the son of Jeremiah, who was called Buzi, because he was despised by the Jews. Ezekiel was said to be already active as a prophet while in the land of Israel, and he retained this gift when he was exiled with Jehoiachin and the nobles of the country to Babylon. Rava states in the Babylonian Talmud that although Ezekiel describes the appearance of the throne of God, this is not because he had seen more than the prophet Isaiah, but rather because the latter was more accustomed to such visions. For the relation of the two prophets is that of a courtier to a peasant, the latter of whom would always describe a royal court more floridly than the former, to whom such things would be familiar. Ezekiel, like all the other prophets, has beheld only a blurred reflection of the divine majesty, just as a poor mirror reflects objects only imperfectly. According to the Midrash Canticles Rabbah, it was Ezekiel whom the 3 pious men, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah asked for advice as to whether they should resist Nebuchadnezzar's command and choose death by fire rather than worship his idol. At first God revealed to the prophet that they could not hope for a miraculous rescue. Whereupon the prophet was greatly grieved, since these 3 men constituted the remnant of Judah. But after they had left the house of the prophet, fully determined to sacrifice their lives to God, Ezekiel received this revelation, "Thou dost believe indeed that I will abandon them. That shall not happen." but do thou let them carry out their intention according to their pious dictates, and tell them nothing. Christianity. Ezekiel is commemorated as a saint in the liturgical calendar of the Eastern Orthodox Church and those Eastern Catholic churches which follow the Byzantine rite on July 23. Ezekiel is commemorated on August 28 on the calendar of saints of the Armenian Apostolic Church, and on April 10 in the Roman Martyrology. Certain Lutheran churches also celebrate his commemoration on July 21. The Church Fathers interpret Ezekiel's vision of the human likeness upon the sapphire throne as a prophecy of the incarnation of the Logos from the Theotokos, who in many ancient church hymns is called the living throne of God. Ezekiel's statement about the closed gate is understood as another prophecy of the incarnation, the gate signifying the Virgin Mary and the Prince referring to Jesus. This is one of the readings at Vespers on great feasts of the Theotokos in the Eastern Orthodox and Byzantine Catholic churches. This imagery is also found in the traditional Catholic Christmas hymn Gaudete, and in a saying by Saint Bonaventure, quoted by Alphonsus Maria de Liguori, "No one can enter heaven unless by Mary, as though through a door." The imagery provides the basis for the concept that God gave Mary to mankind as the gate of heaven, an idea also laid out in the Salve Regina prayer. According to Matthew Henry, a Bible commentator who flourished in the 17th century, Ezekiel is also believed to have been known as Nazaratus Assyrius, a teacher to Pythagoras. However, James Ussher, in his writings of the Ussher chronology, republished as the Annals of the World, claims that this is a mistake, basing his opinion on the writings of Clemens Alexandrinus. However, Sir William Smith, in his Bible Dictionary, points out that John Selden, among others, consider it a possibility. In the book Pythagoras, Greek philosopher, it states, Nazaratus, the Assyrian, one of Pythagoras' masters, was supposed to be the prophet Ezekiel, and Thomas Stanley's Life of Pythagoras says that Ezekiel and Pythagoras flourished together. Mormonism. Since 1830, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has identified the Book of Mormon with the record of the Stick of Ephraim, while the Stick of Judah is identified with the Bible. Islamic tradition. Ezekiel is recognized as a prophet in Islamic tradition. Although not mentioned in the Quran by the name, all Muslim scholars, both classical and modern, have included Ezekiel in lists of the prophets of Islam. The Quran mentions a prophet called Zul-Kifl. This prophet is sometimes identified with Ezekiel, although Zul-Kifl's identity is disputed. Qasim Naib, in his Rias Beshrabung Nach Arabian, says he visited Al-Kifl in Iraq, midway between Najaf and Hilla, and said Kifl was the Arabic form of Ezekiel. He further explained in his book that Ezekiel's tomb was present in Al-Kifl and that the Jews came to it on pilgrimage. The name Zul-Kifl would mean one of double, as Kifl in Arabic means double. Some Islamic scholars have likened Ezekiel's mission to the description of Zul-Kifl. When the exile, monarchy, and state were annihilated, a political and national life was no longer possible. In the absence of a worldly foundation, it became necessary to build a spiritual one, and Ezekiel performed this mission by observing the signs of the time and deducing his doctrines from them. In conformity with the two parts of his book, his personality and his preaching are alike twofold, and the title Zul-Kifl means the one of double. Aside from the possible identification of Zul-Kifl with Ezekiel, Muslims have viewed Ezekiel as a prophet, regardless of his identification with Zul-Kifl. Therefore, two main views on Ezekiel are popular in Muslim theology. One views Ezekiel and Zul-Kifl as two different prophets. One views Ezekiel and Zul-Kifl as the same prophet. Ezekiel appears in all Muslim collections of stories of the prophets. Muslim exegesis further lists Ezekiel's father as Busy, and Ezekiel is given the title Ibn al-Ajaz, denoting son of the old, as his parents are supposed to have been very old when he was born. A tradition, which resembles that of Hannah and Samuel in the Hebrew Bible, states that Ezekiel's mother prayed to God in old age for the birth of an offspring and was given Ezekiel as a gift from God. Bibliography: Ibn Qutayba, K. al-Mayr ed. Eshaq 51. Tabari, History of the Prophets and Kings, 2, 53-54, Tabari, Tafsir, v. 266, Masudi, Muruj, I, 103 ff. K. al-Badwa el-Tariq, E. 4/5 and 98/100, Ezekiel, Abdullah Yusuf Ali, Holy Quran, Translation and Commentary, Note 2473, Emil Heller Henning 3, Ezekiel's Temple, a scriptural framework illustrating the covenant of grace. 2012. Interpretation as reports of alien spacecraft. Eric von der Currency-Naken and others have interpreted Ezekiel's visions as evidence of visits from intelligent extraterrestrial beings. See also the spaceships of Ezekiel. Tomb of Ezekiel. The Tomb of Ezekiel is a structure located in modern-day South Iraq near Kfil, believed to be the final resting place of Ezekiel. It has been a place of pilgrimage to both Muslims and Jews alike. After the Jewish exodus from Iraq, Jewish activity in the tomb ceased, although a disused synagogue remains in place. See also, Zul-Kifl, Apocryphon of Ezekiel, Babylonian captivity, Book of Ezekiel, Zul-Kifl, list of names referring to El, Tor, references. Further reading, Broom, Edwin C., J. Ezekiel's Abnormal Personality. Journal of Biblical Literature 65, 277 Euro 292 Eisfeld, Otto. The Old Testament, An Introduction. Peter Ackroyd, trans. Oxford, Blackwell, Gottwald, Norman K. The Hebrew Bible, a Socio-Literary Introduction. Philadelphia, Fortress Press. ISBN A0-8006-0853-4, Greenberg, Moshe. Ezekiel 1 Euro 20 AA New Translation with Introduction and Commentary. Garden City, New York, Doubleday. ISBN A0-385-00954-2, Greenberg, Moshe. Ezekiel 21 Euro 37 AA New Translation with Introduction and Commentary. New York, Doubleday. ISBN A0-385-18200-7, Klein, Ralph W. Ezekiel, The Prophet and His Message. Columbia, South Carolina, University of South Carolina Press. ISBN A0-87249-553-1, external links, Catholic Encyclopedia article, Prophet Ezekiel Orthodox Icon and Synaxarion, zec.org, The Seraphic Order Auxiliary.